Bismillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Just want to give a quick short presentation on the testimony of Jesus in Josephus, Antiquity of the Jews. I've done an intensive, more in-depth reading of the story in the past, but I think this story has been overlooked by a lot of the brothers who are doing the da'wah. Alhamdulillah, a lot of brothers and sisters are doing a good work online, but I see a lot of recycle apologetics. So brothers and sisters just copy each other, watching each other's video and just regurgitating what everybody else is saying. Look, there's nothing wrong with it, but the evangelists, they also do recycle their apologetics. So you have the same argument, they're using the same rebuttal to your argument, and this is the problem with using the Bible against the Bible. There are many verses that can be interpreted differently, and sometimes it can be a never-ending battle. Use this verse, and they come with another verse, refute, then you come with another verse, and this is why I've been trying to dig outside the Bible, to go to the root of the problem, as who created the Bible, okay, and what's the Bible's relation to the first century Judaism, and what's the relation between Josephus and the Roman Empire, Vespasian and Titus, and how they needed this full gospel, or should we say the modern day Pauline Christianity, to justify for their anti-Semitism in the Roman Empire, for the destruction of the Jewish temple and to exodus or the Jews outside Jerusalem. How they needed these four gospels and the modern day Christianity in order to use Judaism against those Messianic Jews to stop them from revolting. And we see Jesus said in the Bible, how coincidentally he said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it's of this world, then my followers will fight for me." So straight away, this pacifist understanding, do not fight for this messianic seed of the David. This is something in the heaven. It's not going to happen. It's a metaphorical. It's in the heavenly kingdom. It's not a physical kingdom. And all this turn the other cheek. Slave, obey your master. All this how it work in favor as a political tool for the Roman Empire. Now, I don't want to digress. The reason why I say we should focus on this story of Josephus, because many Christians love this. Because look, famous historian, a contemporary, testified that Jesus was crucified, he came alive on the third day, appeared to his followers. Now, what else do you need? But they stop short and they miss out the most important part. Is not the testimony of Jesus, in my opinion. Rather, it's a two story directly came after it. Okay, and a lot of historians say those two stories that come straight after the testimony of Jesus is very out of place. Okay, first of all, it's nothing to do with Pontius Pilate, because the story of crucifixion of Jesus is in the life and career of Pontius Pilate in Jerusalem. So first of all, it has nothing to do with Pontius Pilate. Second, it's not in Jerusalem. Both stories is sitting in Rome. So, but we know Josephus, he didn't place those two stories there randomly, even though it's out of place. But Josephus is a very smart man. He put it there for a purpose. He put it there for a reason, and that's why it's so scary for the Christians to read this. And then, this happened to me a week ago, and one guy is texting me, a Christian guy, I know him for a long time, and we've been talking, and I've been telling him about this story, and he didn't want to read it, or I think he read it, he didn't want to talk about it, he doesn't want to get into a dialogue with this story, because it's very painful, very scary for a Christian to read those two stories, and you can see that something is just not right. It's like Josephus is trying to hint, using dark satire, parallel, rhetorical in those stories to try to show you something about the crucifixion of Jesus and Christianity. And when I get into this presentation, you will see it. Okay, so now, basically, those two stories are based on two women, two individuals, women. Okay, one named Paulina, the other one name is Philovia. I think if I pronounce it correctly. But both cases, those two women are very, very religious, very, very zealot for the law. And what happened? Both of the time, they were misled, they were used, they were conned because the zealousness for their religion. Okay. Another thing to point out is both women, even though one is become a Jew, another one she's a Egyptian pagan who worships Isis, but the husband have the same name. So both women have the same. The husband's name is the same, Santonius, and we know the Romans worship Saturn. Okay, is this another coincidence, or is Josephus trying to tell us something? You have to decide. Okay, and I suggest you do all read those stories yourself after you listen to this. So first, let's go to the first story. So Paulina, she is a very righteous woman, virtuous. She's from a high-class family. She's very rich. Okay, but she has a lover called Mundus Duasis. Here, what's his name here? Sorry, Ditus Mundus. Okay, Ditus Mundus. If you know Ditus, this from the word deity. Mundus, universal deity. This universal God. Look at his name already. Universal God. With this parallel to someone, the Roman Empire maybe. This Ditamandus, the Roman Empire, fall in love with Paulina. Paulina means something small, like Paul, Paul of Tarsus, meaning something small, minute. Even though she's rich, she's very religious and righteous, but in the eyes of Didymus Mantus, she's only Paulina. She's small, something minute to the Roman Empire. But she could not. But this Didymus Mantus loved her so much, he wanted to seduce her. But because this Paulina, she's so religious, okay, she could not be bought with money to commit adultery with this Didymus Mantus. So the Didymus Mantus, he was very upset. So he stopped eating. He was very hurt because he could not, seduce his Paulina, this love of his life. So Didymus Mantus, he had this free slave, and this free slave found out his master's plan. So she come up with this, very evil idea, because she know how religious Paulina was. So she approached the temple priest, and those temple priests came up with the idea that told Paulina that, look, the god, your god Isis, he want to sleep with you because you're such a righteous woman. He want to sleep with you as honor. And so Paulina, she actually was very happy because how religious was, and she actually told her husband, also named Satanius, and he agreed. So Paulina actually went to the temple. One night expecting her god will sleep with her, but who came? Didymus Mantus came pretending to be her god, and he seduced her and enjoyed her all night. And then after 3 days, just like in Josephus' testimony of Jesus, Jesus appeared to his followers after 3 days. Here, Josephus says exactly after 3 days, Didymus Mantus appeared to who? Paulina, and said, it was me. I slept with you. And all the while, he said, I'm just paraphrasing, that, if you just accept what I gave you in the first place, you could have all that money and spend on your family, but I still had my way. I'm Didymus Mantus, and I pretended to be your god, but I'm not into the business of names. Okay, so this thing, again, satirical, that if you can read it, that Paulina, this Jewish nation, could not be bought with money, but the Roman Empire, by pretending to be her god, schooled her, seduced her. And just like Titus said, you could have had a good life under the Roman Empire, but you keep revolting. So just like Didymus Mantus said, you could have had money if you just listen to me. You could have had all this money for your family, but I schooled you anyway by using your God, your religion against you, pretending to be your God. And he said, I'm not into the business of names. I'm not into the business of names. And there's another dark satirical, that this God they worship, Ambius, okay, who supposedly slept with her. He is a human body with a dog head. As again, could be another mockery for the Roman Empire, mocking the newborn Christians who worshiping Jesus, saying that your Jesus is represented as having a dog head, unclean to the Jews. Yet this satirical image that Paulina, she is in bed, supposedly having sex with this man with a dog head, all the while she didn't realize it was Didymus was actually normal man. They were being fooled so much by their religious belief that they've been schooled by someone else as not their God. I didn't even realize. And what is more interesting is that at the end of this story, that the temple Isis, the slave, the temple Isis was destroyed because temple prostitution. But Didymus Mantus, the guy who actually seduced her, he was let go. And the Romans say that he was innocent because he did it for love. He did it out of love. And so Didymus Mantus was blamelessness. He was not blamed because he did it out of love. So you can see this satirical parallel already, okay, to read this, and how Josephus picked this story out of all the stories straight away after the supposed crucifixion of Jesus. And the second story is the story of Phileva. Okay, so again, in the very beginning of the story, Josephus said there was a Jewish man, okay, he had been driven away from his own country by accusation and lied against him for transgressing of their law. And by the fear he was under punishment for the same, all respect, he was a wicked man. So who we know from the New Testament book of Acts, who was driven away from his own country in the accusation against transgression of the law? Paul, right? And he was a wicked man. And while living in Rome, we know Paul was sent to Rome by then, okay, possessed instruct men of wisdom of the law, and he procured also 3 other men entirely of the same character of wickedness. So those 4 wicked men, 4 gospels, okay, they count this Roman river to Judaism. They count her money. They took her money, say for the temple, but they spent on herself. And we know who Paul, when he came to Jerusalem with the money, his donation money he supposed to God, and we know he bought Roman citizenship. He kept a lot of money for himself. That's why after he was in jail arrest, the Herodians was trying to bribe him. The Roman guards tried to bribe him because they know he had a lot of money. He had a lot of donation money he collected for the temple, but he didn't give it to the temple. He spent it on himself. Now, this story also another parallel, that because what he did, the Roman Tiberius, he kicked out all the Jews in Rome because these 4 men. And Josephus mentioned clearly because the evil of those 4 men they did, all the Jews were kicked out. And what is interesting is Tacitus, who is using Josephus, is also a contemporary historian who's using Josephus as his source. It meets all those 2 stories, right? And Tacitus, Suetonius, all these contemporary historians on the first century, none of them mention the story, destruction of the temple of Isis. Okay, the Jews was expelled from Rome because these 4 men. This doesn't exist. This is the other historians do not recognize this story, even though they are using Josephus as their source. They omit those stories entirely. So what they know, this thing didn't happen. This is a satirical satire that Josephus wrote, especially for what? For the testimony of Flavian as an explanation. So you have the testimony of crucifixion of Jesus, and then the 2 story after is like a tafsir, explanation for the people who are in the know, because we know in secret societies, like the Masons or whatever you have, okay, they put signs and symbols that's not in your face, but they put it there, subtle. But the people who are in the know, who are looking for signs, they can see it clearly. But the people who are blind, who are not looking for the signs, they could be in their face, they could not see it. So this is exactly the same. It's very subtle symbols for people who are in the know, who are looking for the truth, who are understanding, who are coming with the mind frame that yes, this 4 gospel Christianity was created by the Roman Empire with the help of Josephus, with the help of Paul, etc., etc. And Josephus is trying to hint to you, the readers, the crucifixion of Jesus, this idea of Jesus died for his sins. Okay, all this appeal to you, this fake God. Okay, did his Mandas screwed Paulina, pretending to be her God, and came in the 3rd day and told her that it was me. Okay, and how Paul and his threefold could be a parallel for the 4 gospels, that you are actually following the 4 gospels, your religion created by man who sold your religion for money, using the money because the Roman given. So we know even Josephus, he changed his last name. Flavius Josephus, right? He changed his name to be the Roman name. He betrayed the Jewish nation, right? So even this is a satirical that you are following a religion created by wicked men who sold your religion for money, who are con men, like Sheikh Suleiman Jabari from Auburn, who con people using religion, right? Anyway, I don't want to digress, but this is something I think we need to look into, and many things that overlap the mission of Jesus to the Titus conquering Jerusalem. There are so many parallels in there that overlap. This cannot be a coincidence. I think this is something that we really need to look into, and inshallah, may Allah use us for his deen, use us for guidance, use us for truth and guidance, sincere Christians, and all the people in the world. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.